If you're shopping for a tactical pistol under 500 bucks, here's two you should be considering: the Delta Tactical by Arex and the Masada Tactical by IWI. Let's compare and contrast them and see which one is right for you. First, sponsor stuff. Thanks to X-Star USA for sponsoring this episode. They're a great American company. They produce excellent products, and they like what I do enough to help me out, which is an honor. Their X-Star EP9 is a great gun for the money. Honestly, it's amazing how much value there is packed into it, and it's the least straining gun purchase on my marriage yet. They can be found exclusively at xstarusa.com, along with their very good and very inexpensive 18-round capacity Glock mags. So don't scoot over to xstarusa.com and don't tell them that 12 Spies sent you. Am I doing that right? Ammo was provided by Global Ordnance, and it's been fantastic. Honestly, I have no complaints. I used Bellum 124 grain mainly. I did have to source some subsonic 9mm on my own, but they're working on making some available, and they always have fantastic deals running on a wide array of calibers. And I always like to protect my eyes and my ears if I can. You only get 2 each, and that's it for your whole life. Don't screw them up. Axel makes some really good ear pros. Gators makes some really nice eye pros. Use my links below to get discounts, and it also helps support me. I'm gearing up to do more videos with the goal of doing this full time, so I don't know, I might redo my Patreon or my Subscribe Star or just mail around an offering bucket. I don't know. Anyways, let's get back to the video. First up, alphabetically, the Arex Delta T. I've reviewed the Delta L and compared the smaller M to the Glock 19, and I think they're great guns for their ergonomics, wealth of features, crisp and defined triggers, grippy serrations and stippling, and their incredible value. The Tactical adds to that with steel suppressor height sights, an upgraded mag release that should frankly come on all other Delta models, and it's tipped with a threaded 4.6-inch barrel. It comes in the standard M-size grip module, being the smallest in the lineup, both in length and height, and it comes with a flush fit 15-round and also a extended 17-round mag capacity. But you can also install X or L model extended frames, which facilitate flush fitment of 17 rounds or an extended 19. Worth noting, if you change the grip modules, which are only 50 bucks and come in different colors, they'll come with the flush fit mag release. So you'll either have to switch over the one from your original grip or buy another extension, which they do sell separately, or you just forfeit that perk. Additionally, the Delta comes optic ready with adapter plates, a chamber indicator, a striker indicator, a flared mag well, and a second recoil spring in the box for fine tuning. The standard 17-pounder and a 20, depending on the ammo that you're running or if you decide to comp the gun using the thread. I can't say I've seen that before where they include the second one, so that's pretty cool. This one is equipped with a 507C ACSS Vulcan, which I really like, and it's mounted with a calculated kinetics aluminum plate, which is a nice upgrade if you've ever destroyed a polymer plate. Proportionally speaking, it's about an ounce lighter and 1/10 of an inch narrower than the Masada, but to me these differences matter much less when they both have tactical features like 4.6-inch threaded barrels and suppressor height sights. I guess a lot of that's going to depend on why you want a tactical pistol and how you intend to use it. The name Masada comes from the Hebrew word fortress, and it refers to an actual fortress atop a plateau in Israel. Fun fact. And the name is pretty fitting, as we'll find out. Now, the IWI is more simplistic in its looks and features, which is surprising when you realize the rest of their lineup is from space. The Tavor 12 Space Shotgun, Tavor X95 Space Rifle, Galil Space AK, Jericho, Cowboy Bebop. Now, the Zion and the Uzi, they don't really count, but you get my point. Now, this isn't to suggest that the Masada's simplicity makes it an unfair fight. It too has suppressor height sights, ambi controls, grippy serrations and texture, and it's a very comfortable design overall. It's optic ready with included plates, has a chamber indicator, a great trigger, and it comes standard with flush fit 17-round mags. Mine included 3, but some retailers list it with just 2. Now, where the Masada really stands out is its smoother overall feel, both in the action and the trigger, by a fair amount. It just glides, and it just feels more solid overall, perhaps even fortress-like, and that's with a negligible weight difference. Comparatively, the Delta is a bit gritty in its operation, both in the action and in the trigger, and the recoil spring compression is just more coarse, and it has this like plastic feel overall. Just listen to the difference between the two. And the Delta is better lubricated than the Masada at this moment. Now, this grit and synthetic feel has been one of the largest complaints that I've heard in feedback to my other videos with the Delta, so I thought it was worth mentioning. The Masada is rocking a Burris Fastfire 4. I did an optic comparison between this and the 507K, and I'm also working on a Holosun EPS versus Swamp Fox Kraken video, battle of the mini fridges of sorts. so stay tuned for that. Shooting impressions. I ran the guns suppressed and unsuppressed with 115, 124, and 147 grain ammo, putting about 400 rounds through each. Neither had any malfunctions that I would say are notable. The Delta failed to cycle the first couple rounds suppressed with a 17 round spring, but it ran perfectly after that. The suppressor is the modular 45 caliber Eliminator from Lone Wolf. This has a lot of similarities with Primary Weapon Systems line of rifle suppressors because it's basically the pistol version, if I'm not mistaken. I ran it with all baffles attached, mainly just to see if any cycling issues arose, which is key for any tactical handgun. Now, both guns had their share of strengths at the range. The flared mag well of the Delta made mag changes much easier than the Masada, the latter requiring a more precise approach that I found myself getting hung up on. What really exacerbates this is the extended piece that goes below the grip. I found myself struggling to get the right front and back alignment on entry. Now, with practice, I became more proficient to narrow the gap, but reload times typically favored the Delta. However, the Masada felt flatter and less snappy. Part of this has to do with the excellent takedown lever placement that acts as a little gas pedal that you can really ride with your thumb and leverage the gun flat. This is an excellent design choice, and they really overbuilt it compared to other guns with a similar takedown lever like the P320, and I love it. Then there's the consideration of the smoother action and lighter trigger. 4.6 pounds is what I measured on average with the Masada and had a smooth take-up. The Delta was 6.2 on average, and the pre-travel has more grit. So the Delta was better in reloads, and the Masada was smoother and flatter, and both guns really performed well for a sub $500 category, especially when you consider the tactical features. Lastly, neither gun has much of an aftermarket. If you're hoping for third-party barrels, triggers, slides, and frames, these really aren't gonna have it. If you want that, you'll have to fork over a couple hundred extra bucks on an FN, Glock, Smith & Wesson, or SIG before you have the privilege to spend exorbitant amounts of money on them. Now, naming a victor here is no easy task. The feature list on the Delta is long, but the smoothness of the Masada is like comparing a Chevy Malibu with a Lexus GS. But in reality, they performed largely the same and can be had for around the same amount of money, typically about 450 bucks. Now, neither gun has much of an aftermarket, like I said, but the Delta has different grip module sizes that typically run about 50 bucks. So I guess the question is, what kind of shopper are you? Do you prefer a brand new car that has all the bells and whistles but maybe lacks some refinement? Or do you look for a secondhand Japanese luxury car that feels a generation old, it's got Bluetooth, but it runs like a Swiss sewing machine? You tell me. To be fair, that was probably less conclusive than you might have liked, but I think we can celebrate the fact that affordable tactical pistols exist, and some are really good. I want to be less of a gear snob and more of an enthusiastic kid in a candy store in hopes that more people will find a gun that clicks with them and they'll exercise their constitutional rights. I promise, it's not just for consumerism's sake. I can argue for cool cars all day, but a yes-go won't preserve your right to practice religion any more than a you-go. I think we're at a time in our country where we're still a great nation, but we're a few key steps away from losing that, and those key steps draw near. For example, a growing number of people think that free speech is actually a bad thing. Now, whatever your political disposition is, not being free to speak is far worse than having your feelings hurt. We don't need to look at history for that, just look at China and Canada more every day. Even if you think you're on the right side of history and the government is playing all the right keys to stroke your sense of morality, inclusivity, equity, diversity, I promise they won't care about any of those buzzwords when they don't find it useful, and you won't believe the things they'll do in the name of your own safety. John Adams said that liberty once lost is lost forever. I want my children to enjoy at least as much freedom as we have right now, preferably more, and I think a lot of that depends on how we act moving forward and how we raise them. John Adams also said that tyranny can scarcely be practiced upon a virtuous and wise people. I don't think we qualify as that anymore, at least not as a majority. And for that, we're kind of getting what we deserve. If we disarm the population and make hurtful words illegal, good luck on doing that. Now, I also want to point out that too much focus on this can really steal your joy in life. Make sure you balance that with an overabundant serving of gratitude. God is good. Thanks for watching, and stay free out there. See, I didn't say stay safe. I said stay free, because I would take unsafe freedom over prison.